Hello everyone, let's talk about Squid Game. Word of mouth has made this one of the most popular Netflix series of all time. Everybody's like, this is new, original, unique. But let me tell you something, me being a complete horror fan, I've been watching stuff like this for 20 plus years now. And I'm going to go over a few examples of other movies, TV shows, etc. that are quite similar in concept, scenario-wise as this. I mean, I don't want to say too much about this, but basically the gist of it is a lot of people who are down on their luck and need money are offered a chance to compete in games for money, or so they think. But we're going to go to some more things here. I mean, when people are going trick-or-treating this year for Halloween, you're going to see these pink soldiers with PlayStation symbols like triangle, square, circle, showing up at your house. So, in that sense, you're going to see what this reminds me of, like an updated retelling of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, essentially. But another movie that I saw several years back, it's called The Subjects. People basically are offered money to become guinea pigs and test out stuff. And you might notice the movie's called The Subjects. It's from roughly 2015. And then the little tagline down below says, superpowers aren't for everyone. So basically, these people take pills and they get various superpowers, but they don't know what the superpowers are. And for better or worse, you just have to see for yourself. Just think of the show Heroes, crossed over with Squid Game, and there you go. But Subjects was a fun watch. And again, there are a few in here that really don't fit into the mold, but they just got me thinking as far as going through this. But The Subjects was definitely a lesser-known movie, which I enjoyed. Sword Art Online is on Netflix. It is a great anime series. And basically, people are stuck in a virtual reality video game, and whatever happens to them in the game happens to them in real life. So they die in the game, they die in real life. So, I'd say this is probably the closest thing to watching something like Squid Game as far as like an anime experience would be concerned. Then we have the Belko Experiment, which is a great movie. And there's several cap shots I hear. You know some of these actors. I mean, you might know her. You might know him. You might know him. You'll definitely know him. I mean, he was a great person in a specific show. Do you know what I'm talking about? See if any of you know what TV show he was in. But in any case, another thing that I remember him being in was a great Dinar Kuntz movie called Intensity, which is a made-for-TV movie where a guy basically kidnaps females, take them back to his house, locks them in a basement, and eventually kills them off. But a girl basically hitches a ride and doesn't realize that this is this crazy serial killer right there. But then we have this guy who we all know from Guardians of the Galaxy. Then, of course, we have... I didn't even tell you what this movie's about. Belko Experiment, basically, all of a sudden they're in an office building and the shutters start closing down. And they say that within the next 60 seconds or so, if one of you isn't dead, 10 of you will die. So it basically gives these people a choice of killing one of the people in the office or that 10 of them will randomly be selected to die. And it gets crazier and crazier as it goes on. I mean, just look up Belko Experiment trailer, and you know what I mean. But it's a great movie, fun stuff all around. Has some well-known actors in it, and just awesome movie. Here we have The Tournament. It has Robert Carlyle, Kelly Hu, Ving Rhames, and it has a bunch of assassins who basically fight to their death for money. It has a great twist on it as well, but fun movie. And this is before John Wick came out. It'll remind you of some of the stuff in John Wick, but it was way before John Wick existed. But of course, you can watch stuff like Crank and District B13 if you want all the crazy action-oriented sequences. And of course, stuff like the Great Raid 1 and 2 Redemption. Here we have One for the Dark Web. This is a different thing. Just think of somebody who goes into like a cafe and they see a laptop just sitting there, and they take the laptop home. They don't realize the content that is on the laptop, which links directly to the dark web. And yes, the dark web is a very dark place. You'd even know this from watching a few episodes of Mr. Robot. And that guy was very interesting in his turn as a Bond villain as well, which I saw last week. And we also have this week, we have Last Duel and Halloween and Bond. And basically Halloween really was a fun movie all around. The last one actually was considered more serious. This one is redonkulous to the point of like Jason X Fortitude. here we have Upgrade, where a guy basically has something crazy happen in his life, and he's offered an alternate choice. And I have to say, like, in the last, like, 5 or 6 years, this is quite possibly my favorite sci-fi / horror movie, along with, like, Blade Runner 2049, and probably next week is going to be Dune. But getting into more stuff, here we go. The original Squid Game. Willy Wonka and Chocolate Factory, the Oompa Loompas crossed, supplanted with the Pink Soldiers, and here we go. I mean, just think of this. And there's going to be a new Wonka movie coming out where it shows how Willy met the Oompa Loompas within the next year or so. We have Wish Upon, which I always love the monkey's paw style stuff, where basically no matter what you wish for, I mean, every single representation of this, be it Wishmaster, Wish Upon, anything else, even Leprechaun, the wishes never turn out well. It's always monkey paw, but Wish Upon has a very, very interesting twist ending, not twist, but twist ending to it. So give that one a shot. I mean, you have to be a hardcore horror fan to really thoroughly enjoy it, because I mean, some of the IMDb reviews are really horrible for it, but I personally found it thoroughly enjoyable because it is very, very twisty as far as like the crazy stuff that could happen or occur if you wish for something, and how it could transgress into something bad. It's almost like the horror version of the TV show Pushing Daisies, which is awesome, and also on HBO Max right now for a great show you might want to watch. Let's see what's next. Oh, Wishmaster, of course, and Wishmaster is awesome. I mean, here it says directed by Robert Kurtzman. Isn't that the same guy who, I'm not sure if I'm correct on this, isn't he the same guy behind like Walking Dead? Or am I just thinking of the name wrong? But I love Wishmaster 1 2 with Andrew Divoff, and then they replaced the actor for part 3 and 4. I mean, I still watched them to kind of see how the wishes turned out for better or worse, but Wishmaster 1 and 2 are definitely the best. And you have like a lot of people from various movies like Tony Todd. I don't want to say anybody else. I'll say Tony Todd is the only spoiler. And then another thing, which is a little bit like Squid Game, it's called Would You Rather, where people are basically invited by elite people with a lot of money, and they're given choices of 2 Would You Rathers. And these are like the lesser of 2 evils, where like, would you rather do this? Think of like, would you rather eat like a rotten hot dog or like a mutated pig leg or something? And no matter what you pick, it's probably not going to end up in a good way. And they get increasingly worse and worse as you go on. This is another low-key, fun movie. But again, at least 20 examples of these are very, very similar in concept to Squid Game. Here we have The Show You. And if you like stuff like Dexter, this show is currently on season 3. And it's one of those transplants from even the Lifetime television for women. They don't even call it that anymore. I mean, politically correct now. They just have another name for it now. But this show originated on that network. And for something that's called television for women, I actually found myself thoroughly enthralled with quite a few of the horrific movies on it. I mean, they had all kinds of crazy movies about serial killers and all that. And surprisingly so. I mean, locally where I live, we had 3 females that were kidnapped and held as sex slaves for 10 years. And they even did a movie on that channel about those 3 females. And luckily, they were able to escape a few years back, and they're doing so much better now. And money has been given to them to help them get a new fresh start in life. And one of the females actually is now works for the news station. And she does daily reports, and just so glad that they were able to get away from this. But it was just a crazy, crazy, horrific story. I mean, no matter where you live in the world, there's always some crazy shenanigans going on, and it was just unfortunate that these 3 females had to be caught up in that. And the sad thing is that the one girl was actually friends with the guy's daughter, and it, you know, he just didn't seem like that likely of a suspect, but it turned out to be him. And my wife actually had this book of like unsolved crimes, and going back, the unsolved crimes were in there. And here's the other crazy thing. There's a story about the Zodiac Killer, and in the book I need to like pull this book up and show it like in another video, but this is very, very strange. It's almost a horrific story in itself. In the year, like roughly around like 1994, when I lived in like this city, the supposed person that was supposed to be the Zodiac Killer lived at the apartment complex that I lived at. And at that time, me and my roommate were looking out the window, and we saw this epitaph, a burning epitaph outside, and it could have been coincidental. It was just so strange for the time. But let's get to some more pictures here. Let's go to this photo I have right here, because I know I have more pictures. Going down the list here, we were on You. Make sure I pick these out. I'm going to go to the beginning of this list right here. Open with photos. get these right in order. We have 12 Rounds with John Cena. You can actually watch this on YouTube for free right now. It's a great, great movie. It's directed by the same director who did Die Hard 2. And the cool thing about this movie is that basically something bad happens where the villain's woman, something happens there, so the villain takes John Cena's woman, and he has to do 12 progressively crazy things in order to get his woman back. It is a crazy, crazy thing. If you love stuff like Die Hard 2, definitely watch it. We have 13 Cents. This movie is bat crap crazy. The guy's basically sitting in his car, and let's zoom in on this a little bit. I didn't get like the best artwork here. And you always notice like from the director of Last Exorcism, from the producer of Paranormal Activity, that don't mean crap to me. I don't care who produced, who directed. I watch the movie on the merits of the movie itself. But in any case, this guy is sitting in his car. He gets a phone call, a random phone call, and he says, "See that fly on your windshield? Kill it right now. We'll have $100 deposited in your bank account." He's like, "No way, this ain't remotely possible." He does it, and then sure enough, he gets a little ding on his phone, there's the $100 in his bank account. And then he gets a second phone call, and they have to do progressively crazy things, but then he has this little catch where basically if he doesn't do the last one that's offered to him, or like all 13 of these things, he loses all money, including his $100 original dollars. So, I mean, it's a crazy movie, and some of the twists are so awesome. It's like watching like a movie like Tenet, the Christopher Nolan movie over and over again, because you'll see stuff that you didn't notice the first time. And it's another movie that doesn't have the best reviews, but give it a shot. It is thoroughly enjoyable, and I'd easily go back and watch it again along with Upgrade. Going on to a few other movies here. What else do we have here? Hopefully we can switch to another photo. Sometimes this can be a little bit goofy on me. Let's go with a 31 here. I was trying to do like a slideshow. I just didn't open the best photo program to do this. We have 31 by Rob Zombie, and this is essentially like the Rob Zombie retelling of the great Richard Bachman Running Man, which Running Man is also quite similar to the Squid Game, where people compete in like the, spoiler alert, life and death games. But that was a fun movie. And I think I have to be zoomed out to go to the right again. There we go. And then we have Alice in Borderland, which is very, very similar to the Squid Game, where they have these crazy, crazy games they have to compete in, including like Tag. That's all I'm going to say about that one, but that's also on Netflix. We have Army of the Dead, and they're offered the opportunity to do money. There's basically money in Las Vegas, but it's overrun by zombies, and it's completely closed off from the rest of the country. And think of all the movies that did this, like one of the Resident Evil movies had the city closed off, and of course stuff like, should we say like the Army of the Dead, not Army of the Dead, City of the Dead. That was a great one as well. Had John Leguizamo in it. But many movies have done this where they close off the city, including like District B13, which is a great, great parkour movie starring David Bell. It was remade as Brick Mansions for the USA with David Bell, all along in conjunction with Paul Walker. I mean, Paul Walker is so fantastic in quite a few of the movies he was in, and God rest his soul, there are so many movies that he was in, and he'll go on for accolades for decades and decades to go on. But we have Battle Royale, and this is one of the first premiere ones from 20 plus years ago. Basically, kids are being bad, so they are sent to an island, and all of them kill each other off. I mean, this reminds you of something like Hunger Games. For those of you who don't know what Battle Royale is, Hunger Games is a complete ripoff of Battle Royale. And like I said, the students are all sent to an island, and they're given random weapons. I mean, somebody might get like a GPS tracker, another person might get a baseball bat, another might get a taser gun. They all have their various weapons. And like you notice, the guy on the left has like a shotgun. The person on the right has like a meat cleaver type thing. But it is a very, very interesting movie. I love Battle Royale 1 and 2. In Battle Royale 2, it's crazy because it's more like proportions of violence like Saving Private Ryan. And Saving Private Ryan is a movie I have not seen in quite some time. You might notice that one specific actor from Saving Private Ryan went on to play Hawkeye, and he was also Jeffrey Dahmer. You know what actor I'm talking about? And there's another Hawkeye TV series coming out on Disney Plus in the near future as well. Here we have Bloodfest, and I'm going to get into this little other thing, which we typically have. Every time you have a movie out there, there's almost always a duplicate mirror image movie to it. Like, let's take Armageddon with Bruce Willis. We also had another movie out around the same time called Deep Impact. These are both about meteors coming and destroying Earth. In the case of Bloodfest, we had this is straight to video. and this is the better of the two. There's another movie called Hellfest, which is a theatrical release, but Bloodfest is way, way cooler of a movie. I love the movie. Basically, people go to a horror festival, and each section of the horror festival has stuff like, should we say, spoiler alert, zombies, vampires, etc. And they try to do like scientific reasoning why they even exist in this capacity. You just have to watch it for yourself. And some of the humor reminds me of like the movie Hatchet, which is a great Friday the 13th parody satire, Amish style movie. But Bloodfest is a great, great movie, definitely worth watching. Bloodwork is another thing, which is like Squid Game, where basically people are offered to be guinea pigs to take these experimental drugs, which are basically going to alter their DNA and change their personalities for better or worse. You might notice that Trisha Helfer's in this. She is from that great, great TV show, Battlestar Galactica. And that was a fantastic show, considered right up there in the top tier sci-fi shows of all time, along with, of course, Star Trek Next Generation. But any of you who have actually watched Battlestar Galactica, it is not true sci-fi. It is more or less a dramatic series. And one of the other more recent sci-fi shows that I've really liked, it's almost like Lord of the Flies crossed over. It's, I call it The 100. I watched a few seasons of that, and it's really, really damn cool show. We have Brass Teapot, and this has a really, really cool concept as well. It takes like the gist of, say, like a genie lamp, but in this case, every time you get hurt, say you like prick your finger or stub your toe, money comes out of the lamp. The problem is that less money comes out, so if you stub your same toe more than once, the money's going to diminish to the point of less. It'd be like if you're like farming in a game, and there's a point when you get less and less money. So they're getting to the point where, like, spoiler alert, they may or may not start amputating their own body parts just to get more money. It's a crazy, crazy concept, a great dark comedy worth watching, Brass Teapot. This might even be like on YouTube as a free movie to watch. I mean, a lot of these movies are on to watch. Like I said, District B13 is completely free to watch on YouTube right now. You just get your commercials and such. I'll look for some more. 12 Rounds is another one. So all the movies I said so far, you can watch 12 Rounds with John Cena. And of course, you can watch District 13 or District B13. And it's a great, great movie. Definitely worth watching. Here's another movie. And this is called Cheap Thrills. Basically, that guy on the left there, you've seen him in many, many comedies. He's a great, great actor to watch. David Koechner. I love him in many things. But basically, him and his wife go up and pick these guys up in a bar, and they go back to their place, and he starts offering them money to do more and more outrageous things. So it's almost like a more dark comedy version of 13 Cents. So 13 Cents and Cheap Thrills are two companion piece movies well worth watching. I think Cheap Thrills is actually on the app called Tubi, which you can watch for free now. And Tubi is a great app for watching many free movies. I mean, you could even watch like American Mary. I mean, some of the ABC's of Death movies, etc. were on there last time I looked. Of course, like Masters of Horror, which is one of the best horror series ever. And there's actually a game for Open Board called Jennifer, which is based off of an episode of Masters of Horror. And I'm going to give you a little gist of that. And going back into stuff like, and I always loved, like, many years ago, watching stuff like Family Matters, Step by Step. You might not know this, but Cody and Step by Step, a.k.a. Sasha Mitchell, is a great martial artist. He showed up in movies such as Class of 1999, Part 2, The Substitute, where he's a robot teacher who dishes out punishment to the extreme. And I watched this movie years ago with my mom, and I just got a huge kick out of him. Basically, there's a part in the movie, I'm going to give a little minor spoiler, where somebody mistalks, and he basically takes him over his lap and does like a robot smash with his hand to the point of practically killing the kid right in the class. And if kids are like outside the class and they misbehave, he takes care of them too. But he was also in Bloodsport 4, which is kind of like a remake of Enter the Ninja in essence. That was another great, great movie. Here we have The Condemned, and this is another movie where people have to fight to the death, like Running Man and other such. Here, they're basically prisoners, and they're given a choice that if they survive, they could be freed. And we have Steve Austin and Vinnie Jones. This is a very, very obscure movie, but excellent all around. I love this movie. It reminds me of Running Man with the Stephen King, a.k.a. Richard Bachman story. Richard Bachman did several names under his pseudonym. It's kind of like with Nintendo games where they can only release like a set number of games per year. So companies like Konami formed a subdivision company called Ultra, and they had games like TMNT, Defender of the Crown, and even Metal Gear and such, so they could have their games under Konami as well as Ultra. But Stephen King At the time, they were only able to have one book per year, but Stephen King had so much creative input and output that he wanted to basically get more than one book. So he did Richard Bachman. He did Thinner, which is a great movie as well as Running Man. He did another one which is completely removed from print because it actually parallels the Columbine High School shooting in the United States. So that is a very, very tough book to find nowadays. I'm not even going to talk about it. I am, out of respect for the whole Columbine shoot, I'm just not even going to go near the book. I'm just going to let it die. But in any case, here we have the season 1 of the new reboot show called Creep Show. And one of the episodes, I believe it's the 3rd episode, is part of, each episode shows 2 different stories. This one's called Man in a Suitcase. The guy basically finds the suitcase, and this man right here is inside the suitcase. But there's a twist to this. Every time the man in the suitcase gets hurt, money shoots out of the suitcase. So the twist here, and I don't want to say too much about it, the morality clause here is, would you hurt this man and get more and more money, or would you try to do what you can to help him escape from his torturous being stuck in a suitcase? It has a very, very cool twist at the end of it. So, I mean, Man in a Suitcase, Creep Show. You can watch this on Shudder right now. Some of these episodes are on, like, YouTube TV, if you search them. I mean, Chucky's another show that's on Shudder. No, not Shudder. I mean, it's just on YouTube TV, etc., USA Network, all that. Sci-Fi Channel. But Chucky Remake was great. It's done by the person who directed and created the original Chucky movie. So it really holds up well. Here we have Escape Plan, which is a great, great movie, where basically these guys are hired to go into a prison and figure out the security flaws so they can be patched. The problem is they don't realize that they're being set up, and the attendees want these people to die in the prison. But Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone work together to escape, and the first one is great. The second and third ones are pretty fun, but they're more or less... They'll have, like, Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger on the cover, but they're only in the second and third movies for, like, 2 or 3 minutes each. I mean, but they're in the entirety of the first movie, so the first one's definitely the best one. Second and third are still entertaining, though, if you like the entire series. Let's go back. Okay, I'm learning here, because I normally use a different photo program. I got to go back to the standard thing here. We have Gamer, which is a great one, and this is cool as hell. This is an earlier movie where, say, we have prisoners, and they're offered this little clause where they can escape. And is that Terry Crews over here? It's hard to tell. It's a little bit... hard to see if that's Terry Crews or not. It could be another actor. But Gamer basically has people who are down on their luck, and think of like a darker version of Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds. It's a little bit like that. But people who are in prison and like on death row, they have a choice of basically letting people play them in like Call of Duty games, but they're using their real bodies, and if they die in that real life reenactment, they're going to die for real. But if they are able to survive, then they'll be freed after like a certain number of games. And other people who are down on their luck basically sign away their bodies to be used in like Sims games and such. So it's a crazy movie. Gamer was awesome. I'm going to zoom in again. Here we have Halloween Resurrection. And speaking of the latest Halloween, that was a fun movie. And you might not realize that Danny McBride, the great comical actor who's in stuff like Pineapple Express, remember the toilet bowl fight scene? He actually was a co-writer on the latest 2 Halloween movies. But Halloween Resurrection is a bunch of teens who cash in and do a reality show in the house where Michael Myers originated and, spoiler, killed his sister. But in any case, of course, Michael Myers shows up again, right? Evil finds its way home. Evil dies tonight, right? It's like winter is coming, winter is coming, winter is coming. How many times can you say that? You can do a drinking game out of evil is going to die tonight over and over again in the latest Halloween movie, but still fun movie. I don't want to say much more about it, but it was still a fun movie. Halloween Resurrection is a fun movie as well. We have Jurassic Games. And you might remember years ago when we used to watch movies like in HBO, Cinemax, etc. This movie is very, very reminiscent of the typical movie I'd watched in the 1990s. These are basically a little bit like Condemned. They're offered a chance to basically get away from their prison sentence by going into a virtual reality game. But you might not be aware of the fact that once they're in a virtual reality game, if this dinosaur like bites their head off, they die in real life. It was a fun movie. And it just reminds me of watching a movie in the 1990s like Brain Scan with Edward Furlong, which is like, it was a fun movie. Like, the one movie, there's so many movies. Drop Dead Fred. It reminds me of like a twisted version of Drop Dead Fred, which would be Brain Scan. But Jurassic Games is very, very much like Running Man and Condemned, etc. And going back farther, here's our Kickboxer 4. See Sacha Mitchell doing a karate kick up there. There's actually one episode of Step by Step where he actually shows his martial arts skills. And like I said, I've always enjoyed all of the movies I've seen Sasha Mitchell in. He was a great, fun, venerable person to watch in movies as well as in Step by Step. I always love watching him in Step by Step. But in the particular episode where somebody's bullying somebody in a place, he kind of shows what it's about. He teaches them a lesson. Here we have Lord of the Flies, which I talked about being like one of the things which the 100 is like. And there's another current TV show that's out for sci-fi, which is similar to Lord of the Flies as well. And many of you might have read Lord of the Flies in school, and this story has been done so many times. It's been done to the grave many, many times, but this is the best version of it that I've watched. I've even watched, when I was in school, we watched the original 1950s version as well as this one, and we read the book. It was just an entertaining thing altogether. Here we have Man of Tai Chi. This is a great Keanu Reeves movie, and some of you might not be aware of the fact that after he did Matrix, he was so inspired that he continued on to basically continue doing martial arts to the point of becoming black belt and further. And it shows in movies like John Wick and the latest Matrix movie, etc. But Man of Tai Chi, he basically gives people the opportunity to fight for money, but they don't realize there's a twist to this fighting. And Man of Tai Chi is a great one-off movie of Keanu Reeves, well worth watching. Give it a shot if you're able to have access to it. Man of Tai Chi, awesome movie. Here's the original, another one which is a little bit like Lord of the Flies. Prisoners are sent to the island. You might notice Ray Liotta here. And I noticed that Ray Liotta was in the latest Newark movie, which is kind of like the Sopranos prequel, but he was also in Who Be Halloween, which me and my wife just watched again tonight, and that movie holds up well. Classic Sandler is best. But we have some other great notable actors here. It was a great movie all around. No Escape, I've seen in the theater. I've seen many times. It says from the makers of Aliens and The Terminator. Okay, that's not telling me anything. Okay, and Most Dangerous Game is another story which is told many times. Here somebody goes up to John Leguizamo, who's basically homeless or down on his luck, and they offer him money, and he finds out soon enough that he's going to be hunted for money. And this was also a thing in the certain movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme called Hard Target. I mean, this movie concept has been done over and over again, even like in the Criminal Minds episode. But The Pest was a fun movie, which I watched multiple times. And I've always loved John Leguizamo about everything he's been in. There's a recent chess movie, which he was in, which is great as well. But here we have Raised. And this is where a bunch of females are given the chance to fight. Think of like Fight Club, but to the death. And it keeps going down. And you might know Zoe Bell is actually the stunt double for the Kill Bill chick, Uma Thurman. And Zoe Bell has been in so many things, even like Death. Well, what was the movie? I'm trying to think of what it was called. It was like the Grindhouse movies, which had Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino. You know what I'm thinking of? Death, the Death Car, which had, of course, Kurt Russell in it, where he's basically a stunt driver, and he would pick up females. Spoiler alert. And he would drive the car so erratically that they banged their heads against the walls, and they didn't know what outcome was coming for them. But then it turns into like a secondary movie, spoiler alert, where the girls like Zoe Bell, etc., get revenge on him. It is an awesome movie. I saw it in the theater. It was literally almost 4 hours long with a zombie movie by Robert Rodriguez. And, of course, this Death Proof. That's what it was. It's called Death Proof by Quentin Tarantino. These were both fun movies. Zoe Bell has always been awesome in everything I've seen her in. But Ready or Not, here's another great one. And imagine if wealth comes at a cost. This family, basically, spoiler alert, makes a deal with somebody they maybe shouldn't have made a deal with. And every year, on the clock, this little box comes out, and it comes out with a little sheet of paper, and they have to do whatever's on the sheet of paper. I mean, they could play like hide and seek or other such things, but this is one of the greatest horror movies I've seen in the last few years. And you can see just the great cover shot here. It's a low-key movie. It was well worth watching. I'd easily watch it again. But Ready or Not, definitely worth watching. And there's many movies like this. I mean, I can recommend many others like this. But we're going to start with this one for right now, Ready or Not. If you do like Ready or Not, or if you've seen it, I'll recommend like 3 or 4 other movies just like it. We got the original Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Can't go wrong there. Here's another movie. It's a comedy, and it's a fun movie. Holds up well. We have David Spade, Marlon Wayans, and he basically, Marlon Wayans, I've always loved all the movies he's been in, from the original In Living Color all the way up until stuff like everything I wanted to know about South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. That's the whole mouthful. I'll never forget it because that movie is just damn funny and makes fun of like all the various movies like South Central, Boys in the Hood, etc. It's a great, great movie. Holds up so well. But Senseless, he basically does an experiment which gives him super senses, but the side effects, spoiler alert, once he gets one sense, another sense diminishes, or this sense is very extreme. There's a point where like spoiler alert, there's a girl in the bathroom doing the deed, and his senses are probably the worst time for him to experience the super hearing and smell. But back to, of course, Squid Game. But again, if you like any of these choices, let me know, and I'll recommend more movies. Like I said, it's my #1 genre. As far as like movies, I love horror movies, and I always get into them. Anything from Saw, all the way back from when I was a kid, watching stuff like Barbara Hershey and The Entity. So I've been watching these horror movies ever since I was a little kid, all the way back as early as 4 years old. Yes, I was enthused with these horror movies from the beginning. But hope you enjoyed Squid Game. And don't spoil anything in the comments. Just let me know if you liked it or not. But very, very cool stuff. But you can see that it's not completely new and original. Many of the other things that I talked about in this video are very, very similar in essence to it. But hope you enjoyed the video and get some recommendations between Tubi, the free app, etc., etc. Talk to you soon.